if I keep believing that this is my true calling and so many other opportunities come by but I keep on saying no to it, my level of satisfaction will probably go down because I continue to do something that I think is going to give me that same sense of satisfaction and fulfillment. When I actually don't believe that you can consistently do something for long enough with that same level of enthusiasm if you believe that that thing is your destination that you will stay at forever. Because with that type of mindset, it's not an abundance mindset. An abundance mindset is grass is always greener on the other side. Now maybe this is wrong, but the person who is doing one thing solely is also the same person to believe in burnout. For you to believe in burnout, it probably means that you think that you should be doing the fun thing, when that's not necessarily the case. So that same person who's doing the same thing for long enough will probably experience burnout because they've got themselves into that trap. And now they start demonizing burnout on that issue, and they're saying, no, I was just doing this for so long, I wasn't getting the results that I wanted, and now I'm burnt out, and my life's so bad, I was just doing what I wanted, I was just trying to do X, Y, and Z, look, the world's against me, and they play this victim mindset. And again, I'm really overgeneralizing, I am massively, but I think it's fair to say that that same person does have that same mentality most of the time. Welcome back to this episode of the Sculpted podcast. It is a solo episode today. So by myself, we are pumping out these episodes, getting heaps done at the moment. Got the dual camera setup, which is nice. Thankfully, they're also the same camera this time, so it should be looking consistent. The production levels are a slow burner for us because it costs a lot of money. Now, I don't have too much money to play around with at the moment, so definitely a slow burn. I know how to make something look nice, thankfully, but with what I've got, sometimes it's not even worth me making it make the nicest thing in the world. It's more important for me just to get it out sometimes. But in that said as well, that may be wrong. I don't know. I haven't really tested the other way, but I'm here today and I've got a very interesting topic. Now, I do have my dog here as well. She wanted to come in, so don't mind me. Let me quickly, Macy, hey, come here, Macy. Say hi. All right. That camera can't see her, but this camera can. Macy, look, you're on camera. Yeah. She's just here because she likes the carpet that we're on at the moment. It's her favorite thing. She honestly might just chill here the whole time. To be honest, it'll be annoying because she licks a lot, and she's licking right now. And the microphone is just here, so we'll see what she's like. She probably will want to pop down. I've left the door open for her because, yeah, eventually people will get home and she's going to want to go and greet them or bark at them. That's her preferred method of speaking. Unfortunately, her English isn't too good. I did try and teach her a while back, but weirdly enough, sign language is a bit better for her. Just like pointing at things. I don't know how dogs work, but yeah, a bit crazy in the end. Alright, so what today's episode is all about. Let me get my computer up. Normally I'll put that where the dog is, but obviously got a dog there at the moment. So, going through today's episode, it is all about how chasing your so-called true passion is destructive. So, quite a controversial topic. I put a lot of research into it because I don't want to be speaking ill-informed. I don't want to necessarily be going into things that I'm unqualified to speak about, because my life is quite different to most people's. I'm aware of that. So how can I get my message across without also demoralizing or making me look like I'm superior? Because in a way, that's like what my message today is. So how can I transparently show that and make it as digestible as possible? That's a challenge. So going through the argument itself. So I believe that chasing your so-called, whatever you believe it to be, true passion can ruin your life. Okay, now, chasing your passion is often touted as the key to personal and professional fulfillment. However, this notion can be misleading and even detrimental. So, what I want to go over are three main points, which is firstly the illusion of passion. If you don't know, my kind of perspective on that, then I've made an episode about it before. Check it out. So, the illusion of passion. the falsehood of needing to work on your life's calling, which a lot of people say is their passion, and then also the negative repercussions of solely focusing on what you believe to be your passion. So those three topics will go over my perspective on what the issue is with chasing your true passion and how it can ruin your life. So, and also, there's a few disclaimers that I want to make. Firstly, that me saying that it will ruin your life is so subjective. It's a very blanket statement. It's an overgeneralization. I'm so aware of that. It's more of a clickbait kind of title, I guess. Like, I don't truly believe that, every single person that does chase their passion and do what they really have always wanted to do is the wrong way of doing it. I'm just saying that there will be a lot of people who do this and are so struck into believing that this is the way that they should do it, and then they end up ruining their life because of it. Now, again, ruining your life is again subjective, because maybe they were okay with maybe the unsuccess that they achieved or the inadequacy that they achieved through finding their true passion or whatever it is. So again, it's very subjective. It's very there's no real way that I can explain it in my limited vocabulary, but it doesn't make me look too great saying all of this. But I think that through the facts and evidence that I can get and put into a structured argument will probably help my point be validated a little bit. Now, the three things that I really want to just, bring home for the whole context of this episode is I don't believe that the word that we call passion to be a true thing. I think that you can be passionate about something, but as a lot of people use the word passion today, I don't believe that to be a thing, as do I not believe motivation to be a thing in the way that it's also used today. So that's a big thing for me. Now, I don't know what my dog's trying to do here, but if you're all listening to the audio of this podcast, my dog's slowly getting up, taking a quick yawn, now licking me. But back on topic. Passion is not real, right? The way that I see many people talk about passion, I believe that to be a fallacy. And I will talk about passion as if it is a real thing in this, episode, just to get my point across, because if I refer to what I call to be the equivalent of passion in a different word, you won't realize that I'm necessarily speaking about such things. So I'm going to refer to passion, but just remember my stance on it. And if you haven't, watch that video to see what my stance on it is, I'll go over a quick summary of what that is basically. So what I see passion to be is a level of competence. The more competent you are, the more you will enjoy it. The more enjoyment you get, the more fulfillment you get, because you've got competence and enjoyment. Now, typically a level of enjoyment comes through competence. Let me quickly put my dog down. That was crazy. I'm not going to put my dog down. Not yet, at least. She's got a few years left in her. So, through being, let's say, through finding enjoyment of a task, that can be completely inherent, or it could be influenced by external factors, such as if I was to be bowling with some friends and I found it really, really fun. It's probably because I'm having fun with my friends doing this thing. I can have fun with my friends doing many other things as well. It's just a vessel for having fun. Now, let's imagine that I was pretty competent at it. I probably seem to enjoy it a little bit more. Okay? I'm probably getting a little bit of fulfillment out of it now because I'm enjoying it. I'm finding, a sense of accomplishment and fulfillment. Now that could be a new passion. But is it a new passion, or is it a vessel for kind of like expressing your true core motivators, which if you've listened to previous episodes, one specifically was with Jack McLaughlin, and then even I touched about it in a coming episode, or maybe it's even out already with a previous guest, and it's talking about the core ideology of a person, and your passion, your so-called passion, will be linked to what your core ideology is. Now, going into that was an example of how friends and external influences can influence your internal passion. But the most raw kind of form of that is without those external influences, are you still as passionate? Maybe, right? Maybe you are, maybe you're not. But to be aware that your external also has influence over your passion is really, really important. And additionally, social proof has a very, very important play in this, because in Africa, it might be really, really cool to play football, but in New Zealand, it might be really, really looked down upon. So even though you're probably getting a very similar level of satisfaction out of the two, whichever one has the most social proof in your demographic is probably the one that you're going to lean into the most, right? Because there are probably good athletes in every single part of the world, but it just naturally sees to be that they will find their own way through a specific sport. In Brazil, it's football. In Australia, it's AFL, it's rugby. Now it's becoming more soccer. Is that because the players are getting better? Yes, they are. But is it also because there's more people playing it who are getting better, who are getting pushed onto a global stage, so that there is a level of social proof where more people accidentally become passionate about such thing? So it's kind of it's a very nuanced approach to seeing how passion is created, but that's kind of the context on my thoughts around passion. Now, the other thing that I also want to go into is how I'm not saying that you shouldn't pursue a passion, because it can work for you, and for a lot of people it does. But there's also many people who understand that pursuing their passion is something that they should do later on, because their passion may not be profitable. And it may not be profitable on a time basis, financial basis, or anything else, okay? It may be a selfish pursuit, which typically a passion is. A passion is very selfish. So if you've got someone who says that they've got a passion that they want to chase after, and they also claim to be not very selfish or not have much of an ego, then they're lying to themselves. So if you ever know anyone like that, then I'd probably encourage you to, think about it in a little bit deeper and realize that they're probably not too true with what they're saying, and there's a few inconsistencies there. Now, again, that could literally be me as well. So to say that I'm not that person is hypocritical, because I don't know if that is me or not, because I don't have that good of a reflection necessarily to say that, everything that I'm doing is 100% right. But I hope that you kind of get my point there. So the next example of that is there's a guy who is probably in Bangladesh who owns probably like half the country, and he probably just sells like bricks. I don't know, maybe he sells concrete, and that's all he does, but he probably owns half of Bangladesh. And do you think that he is really, really passionate about laying concrete? Do you think he's really, really passionate about the beautiful smell of the fresh concrete being laid down in the mornings? Well, probably actually. Probably does smell nice, but is he
Hey guys, I don't want to interrupt this episode, but gotta do what I gotta do. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you leave a comment if you enjoyed it. If you want any to give any feedback, even just leave that below. We're open to everything. Join the Patreon, guys. There's gonna be a lot more stuff on there. We want to hear from you guys as well. We want to get you involved. If you want to be beta testers to the SCULPTED app, let me know. I can make that happen. Try and get involved at any level. What we're doing at Live Free, guys, make sure you check what we're doing there. Liam's got his own personal YouTube channel. He's always uploading. I've got my own personal YouTube channel that I've started uploading twice a month now. It's going to be cinematic like I am now, right? I've got the light above, got a cool camera. That's what I'm going to be working on, guys. So make sure you follow Live Free Diaries. SCULPTED app. They're doing great stuff over there. Additionally, we want to grow this podcast, guys. And the only way we can do that is through your guys' help. So make sure you subscribe, listen to us on all audio platforms. We're everywhere. So make sure you interact with us. Make sure that you help us grow, because the only way that we can grow this podcast is through you. We'll get better guests. Except we've always had great guests from the get-go. But we'll get even better guests on. Production value will go up. I've got my studio, but we need to get Liam his studio. And the only way we can do that is through monetizing this platform. So make sure you do that, guys. And I'll go back to the episode. I'll let you go.
actually in love with that, or is he in love with the fulfillment that he gets from that, right? He's probably not in love with the pouring of the concrete, and he probably doesn't even do it. He probably gets people to do it for him because he hates it that much. So is he in love with the actions of doing it or the pursuit of doing it? Now, for me, for example, I get so deep in the pursuit and in the journey because that's where I find the most fulfillment. For someone else, they might find more fulfillment in the like a literal moment, the actual actions of kicking a football, of laying that concrete, whatever it is. It's going to be different for everyone. But that's where a level of satisfaction and competence and enjoyment is found, and fulfillment in that as well. And my dog's just left, so I guess I can relax a little bit now, move my legs down, and yeah, lay back a bit. But the thing about, if you're able to do the hard yards first and then pursue your passion later on, sure, do it. Do it, because you're not in a place to necessarily risk anything. So for example, Pete Howard, I think that this episode is going out after him, and we had a very interesting conversation. And what we were speaking about was specifically his passion. And I tried to challenge him a little bit on it. I wasn't too confronting with it. I don't want to be too confronting with it. But in the future, also Pete's a pretty self-aware guy, so I don't think that I was necessarily saying things that he maybe hadn't thought before. But in the future, I do want to have these types of debates with people and go into it if they lack that, self-awareness. And again, not to say that I'm the most self-aware person, but I do think that I've thought about these in a deeper perspective than most. So again, this is where I was saying in the beginning of the episode, the more and more I speak about these topics, the more and more of a prick it makes me look like, because I'm saying as if I know everything, where I'm not saying I do. I am just pointing out these few logical inconsistencies that I can see in front of me, which again, may be logical inconsistencies in myself, but all I am trying to do is make it the most concurrent evidence as possible and put it all on the table from my perspective, which is up for interpretation. It's also up for criticism, and I have no issue with that criticism as well, which again is why I wouldn't mind debating someone on the other side of this chair, so that I could go back and forth with someone rather than just confirming all of my biases in an episode just like this, because a lot of this is confirmation bias. Whenever I do the research, I don't typically find evidence for counter arguments. I do ask for evidence for counter arguments, but I don't find too many because I'm not necessarily proactively seeking them. There may be many, but it also doesn't help my own narrative. So obviously I'm going to confirm my biases, which is just a natural human thing that we do. Now, I do have purposeful counter arguments in here to help my narrative, because if I acknowledge them, it will make my narrative seem more legitimate as well. So I'm kind of giving my whole spiel here, but that's full transparency. Okay, the other disclaimer is my understanding of what passion is. I see passion as, and it's very similar to motivation, it's that thing that people believe is their reason for action, or their true calling, that they believe that ever since they were born, it's the thing that God, or whatever they believe to be God or a higher power, it's what they believe was meant for them. And that's what I've got a massive issue with. Now, maybe not everyone believes that. Maybe that's not everyone's perspective on passion. But when I'm speaking about passion in the term today, this is what I am equating passion to being. Something that people believe is predestined for them to solely pursue, nothing but that, and that is their true calling where they will find ultimate fulfillment from. And it's this beautiful thing that they've made up in their head, but they can't do it yet. Or maybe they are doing it, maybe they're in the midst of it, I don't know. But going into my first argument of passion isn't real, okay? So, as I said, I did go into a little bit, just to give a bit of context, but additionally, that episode is out there on why passion isn't real. Now, I made that around a year ago, so my articulation of it, my experience, everything like that, has actually been 10x since that episode. So, if you watch that episode, find it insightful. I was thinking of actually doing a future episode on it again, because my perspective on that has been confirmed through many more actions in that time, because what a lot of people from the external would say my passion is now definitely not my passion, which validates my point. Now, of course, I'm confirming my biases through my actions, which is validating my point being the biggest form of confirmation bias, but it's also it's definitely a good point of reason, and if someone was to come sit down next to me and argue at that point, it would make them rethink that perspective if they were coming into it saying that football was my passion. But going into the argument, the concept of passion is misunderstood. Passion is not an inherent and mystical force that one must discover, rather it is something that can develop over time. Engagement and competence. So, this study that was done by the University of Montreal found that people often become passionate about activities in which they have developed skills and proficiency. Competence. Okay, a study in the Journal of Vocational Behavior showed that 88% of people who developed passion for their work did so after gaining experience and becoming competent. Again, competency. Only 20% of people identify their passion early in life. The majority discover it through their experiences and skill development, which is pretty much only saying that 20% of the population are aware of what they think their passion is and then actually pursue it. So 1 in 5 maybe. And let's even go to a smaller percentage, which is how many of that 20% who find out what their quote unquote passion is and then pursue it and then make a living off it. I think that's in the 0.01%, because it's very unfair to say that if, like, I'm a teacher and I believe that teaching is my one true calling, it's very, very difficult to actually rationalize how you believe that's your one true calling and that's what your whole life's purpose is. How do you not know that there's a better thing? How do you not know that there's worse things out there? How do you know that that was the one? Like, you probably haven't tried too much. So how do you know? And this is where my main point is that passion is a vessel. If you get so fixated on this being your one thing, then this is how it can ruin your life. If you truly believe that this one thing is your whole destiny, it's everything that you were born on this world to do, then that's truly going to put you in such a rut, because it's such a finite percentage of people who can even make that feasible reality work. And that's also just due to the modern day construct that we live in. To do things, we have to survive through money. And in a perfect world, money doesn't really exist, because money means life or death. So if your passion is something that is enjoyment orientated, which most passions are, then how can enjoyment and money actually work together? Typically, they're not working together. That's why money, in the lower, economic scheme of things, where it's salaries and whatnot, quite often those two things don't communicate too well. It's working for the other person on their expectation is the most typical form. And that's not a very, passionate kind of thing for people to do. And when they do pursue those other things, then it's typically not too financially rewarding. Now, many people like to have a work-life balance. Sure, do it. If you want balance, go ahead. Could never be me. Could never be me. I don't think balance is the right way of doing it if you want to be good. Like, I understand if you don't care too much, sure, have that work-life balance, do it. I don't know how you're going to measure it. I don't know what you're going to do about it, because you really can't do too much about it. Do you have a tracker on your phone that measures your work-life balance? Sure, whatever. I'll leave you to live in that state of delusion. But it also means that you have to be okay with having average results, because you can have that average life. Sure, do it. Don't come near me, but that's a joke, relax. But you have to be okay with the negative repercussions of balance, but also the positive repercussions of balance. It's a trade-off, don't get me wrong. Me having zero balance is a trade-off in itself, but I just see that trade-off being more feasible in the long term than in the short term, because I know that for everything that I want in the future, to have that so-called balance, but in abundance, it means sacrificing the pleasures of now. So as long as I can sacrifice the pleasures of now, the pleasures of the future will be 10x'd, okay? So it's delayed gratification at its finest. And when people want a constant state of satisfaction or comfort, then work-life balance is very appealing to them, and they will rationalize everything for that state of comfort. So that's where that comes in a lot. Going into passion as a product of enjoyment and fulfillment. So going into that a little bit more. So I gave you the example of, 10-pin bowling, you're with your friends, maybe you've never bowled before, maybe you have bowled before, maybe you didn't like it when you're doing it yourself, maybe you really like it with your friends. Is that not fair to say then, is that when you have external influence with doing said task, it is more enjoyable. Maybe it's even more painful to do it with people. But it's clear to say that external influence can dictate your emotions and feelings towards doing said task. Fair to say. So, that's how external influence can impact your perspective. The example for me, okay? And I'm not going to give an example to the next guy who's over there, because I don't know his direct situation, but I can give you an example in my very objective life, subjective life, which is the reason why I started playing football, to which many people would say my passion was from the external. It was not because I liked playing football. In fact, I only was playing football because my parents made me. And that last year, when I decided to take football seriously, that was meant to be my last year of playing football ever. I was so keen to just stop playing football for the rest of my life because my parents were wanting me to do it. I hated it. I literally had a conversation with my sister the other day talking about all the sports that I tried and completely failed at, from swimming to OzTag, was about to try rugby. There were all these different sports that I tried and I sucked at every single one of them. When I was playing football, I was also playing all these others. Oh, cricket, that was my worst one. I was so bad at cricket. And all of these sports that I was so bad at. Horrible. Couldn't find a worse player than me. I had zero passion for any of them. But as soon as I get social proof through the form of a neighbour playing for the Central Coast Mariners, moving in next door to me, do I then see a reason to like those things? Because guess what? My friends valued that. My friends valued football, soccer, okay? I had the highest level of social proof displayed in front of me because my neighbour was a professional footballer. My dog's just come back. Oh, she can hear my mum, who's just got in. Macy, who's there? Go. So through that, I had the highest level of social proof in and amongst my friend group. Therefore, I had the most reason to act. I was the worst footballer out of all my friends. And yet, my neighbour was a professional footballer. Therefore, I felt like this is my time. I can be, leveled up in the social hierarchy within my friends because my neighbour was a professional footballer. And that was my reason for acting. So even though I enjoyed playing football, even though all of these different things, it wasn't the, sole reason for me to do anything.
Hey guys, I don't want to interrupt this episode, but gotta do what I gotta do. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you leave a comment if you enjoyed it. If you want any to give any feedback, even just leave that below. We're open to everything. Join the Patreon, guys. There's gonna be a lot more stuff on there. We want to hear from you guys as well. We want to get you involved. If you want to be beta testers to the SCULPTED app, let me know. I can make that happen. Try and get involved at any level. What we're doing at Live Free, guys, make sure you check what we're doing there. Liam's got his own personal YouTube channel. He's always uploading. I've got my own personal YouTube channel that I've started uploading twice a month now. It's going to be cinematic like I am now, right? I've got the light above, got a cool camera. That's what I'm going to be working on, guys. So make sure you follow Live Free Diaries. SCULPTED app, we're doing great stuff over there. Additionally, we want to grow this podcast, guys. And the only way we can do that is through your guys' help. So make sure you subscribe, listen to us on all audio platforms. We're everywhere. So make sure you interact with us. Make sure that you help us grow, because the only way that we can grow this podcast is through you. We'll get better guests. We've always had great guests from the get-go, but we'll get even better guests on. Production value will go up. I've got my studio, but we need to get Liam his studio, and the only way we can do that is through monetizing this platform. So make sure you do that, guys. And I'll get back to the episode. I'll let you go.
Now, that's kind of how that worked for me, and that passion would have grown through the more competent that I got, because I was playing with my friends. And again, I wasn't good. I wasn't good at this time. And I was still working my way up in the social hierarchy through getting more competent. And I don't think that I necessarily enjoyed it a massive amount, but I enjoyed the more competent that I got. And I also enjoyed playing with my friends because it was something that I could relate to them with. Now, the more competent I got, the more I enjoyed it, the more fulfilled I was. Therefore, that was my passion, okay? That's why I chased it for so long. And I'm not saying that's wrong either. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm actually saying that's how most people do it. You probably just don't realize it. It's typically through enjoyment with an external kind of influence and maybe an internal drive of fulfillment that it comes along and it comes to fruition quite nicely, okay? Now, I don't know what your perspective on that is, but I think that's pretty fair to say that the external has an influence. Now, you might get only internal enjoyment as well. That's also very possible. Like kicking a ball is quite nice to do. Throwing a ball is quite nice to do. I don't know what it is for you. It might be something along those lines, but who's not to say if you were to try those specific things that you wouldn't get enjoyment or fulfillment out of them yourself. You might not have done them ever in your life, therefore you don't know. Okay. So, there is a counter argument, and some may argue that they have always had a passion for certain activities. Now, this is kind of that delusional aspect that I was talking about before, when someone they may lack a specific social awareness to where they think that they are born with this inherent trait. Maybe it's a moral perspective as well. Maybe they don't have the type of faith that I have, where I'm thinking, everything happens for a reason. And I kind of believe that I can do anything I want because, God put me on this earth to be me. I'm unique. Maybe a true calling, the only true calling we can really have is from God, but how do we know that's our true calling? Honestly, don't ask me. I don't know because I haven't been there yet. But going into that, while having a true calling could be seen as true, I wouldn't say it's true necessarily, because what's truth? We don't know. Who is truth? Who put truth here? No one knows, okay? So it's even a fallacy there, saying that there's a truth. But the result of the external influence is really prevalent there. Additionally, is it not fair to say that the competence, enjoyment, and fulfillment, like philosophy, you could say, of passion deconstructs? Like if I was to ask any single person that I meet randomly on the street, I would say, hey, what's the 3 things that you're most passionate about? And then they list their 3 things, and I was able to deconstruct them and say, okay, let's go. So, did you enjoy this thing? They go, yeah, I've always enjoyed it. Okay, why? What did you first do when you started it? Oh, it was just me and my friends. We'd go out to the park and we'd do it. Okay, were you good at it when you first started? Oh, I was okay, but the more I did it, I was really enjoying it with my friends. I got better and better, and then I kind of ran with it. And then I'd say, okay, sweet. So you weren't too good at the beginning. It was a bit of fun with your friends. You got more competent at it. You got a bit more sense of enjoyment because you were more competent. Maybe you start to be more fulfilled from it, right? And they'd probably say, yeah, that's probably how it was. And I'd say, yeah, brilliant. Okay, so who's to say if you were to not do that if you were to do that with another thing, you wouldn't have that same result? Now, maybe you wouldn't be as competent. That's a fair argument. Maybe you wouldn't be as competent. But that same level of passion and that framework that you applied for football or whatever that was for that person in the example in the street interview, how do they know, that they could have or couldn't have done it with another thing and had that same level or even more? So that's kind of my perspective on that. Okay, going into the fallacy of chasing a singular passion, which maybe, again, I kind of live in my own ecosystem and my own purposeful bubble where I don't really know too much about what goes around in other people's lives. I don't necessarily know what the average 19-year-old thinks, does. Quite often, I'm shocked by the things that most people my age do. Positive and negative. But I guess the only real way that I can give my best explanation is probably looking at the extremes. And I'd say that I'm on the extreme side of one, and I'd say there's probably a fair... Well, for me to say that I'm on one extreme end, it's probably fair to say that there's another extreme end on there. So, going into that, the idea that everyone has a singular predestined passion or life calling is a common yet misleading belief. It can create unnecessary stress, dissatisfaction, and a narrow view of fulfillment. This argument will delve into the concept that what truly matters is not the specific activity we are engaged in, but feelings and core motivations we derive from it. Activities are vessels for fulfilling our deeper needs rather than singular pursuits that define our existence. So, a study by Stanford University found that less than 25% of people have a clear and singular calling. This suggests that most people derive fulfillment in multiple sources and not just one specific activity. Now, if you remember the first stat that I gave you, 20% of people find their passion or whatever. But this study is saying that less than 25% of people have a clear and singular calling, which means that there's around 55% of people who are just in the middle, okay? Because 20 do, 25 don't, 55%, who are they? What are they? Most likely the most prevalent situation in this case would be that these studies suck. And these studies probably mean nothing. Because also, very subjective studies, right? I could be in such a state of delusion where I'm thinking, yeah, this is my true calling. Or I'm thinking, oh, there's nothing out there for me, when there could be. So these stats that I've given you mean nothing to my argument other than this is a construct Because there's no way that you can prove to me that you've got a passion for something more than another thing. Other than, really going into maybe you could say scoring out of 30, what do you find most enjoyable? Like, score out of 10 what your enjoyment level is, score out of 10 what your fulfillment is, and score out of 10 what your competence is. If you get 27 out of 30 for playing magic tricks, and then you get 12 out of 30 for Minecraft, then it's probably, fair to say that you get more of a thrill out of playing Minecraft, out of doing magic tricks. For me, it's Minecraft. Minecraft's top tier. But also a joke, relax. But that's the only real measurement of scale that we have. But even then, that's subjective. That's all completely subjective. So how do we actually have a measurement for chasing a passion, or a singular passion at that? How do we know? Okay. So research by Yale revealed that 72% of people find fulfillment in various aspects of life, indicating that happiness and satisfaction are multifaceted. Now, again, going into that vessel kind of perspective, this is where I lean into passion being a vessel. The things that you are doing are only vessels for what you believe to be your passion. So whether that you get satisfaction from, again, I always go to football because it's all I know. But for me, if I was to say that I only get, I'm only passionate about football, is such a convenient and easy lie to tell myself, because it also sells. It's such a nice story. It's like your soulmate's out there. Your soulmate's out there. You'll just find the one. It's such a romanticized version of life that's just not true. So, no, you don't know. Don't say you know. That's just me. Don't worry. So the fallacy being that there is a one singular calling is not. It's such a romanticized version of what life truly is. It discounts every single other experience that happens in life, because, okay, imagine there is your true calling. What happens? You can't sustain it financially. You want to live in a nice house. You can't do it. Okay, well, you're homeless now, but you wanted to have a family. Oh, guess what? Can't have the kids anymore. I guess I'm just going to go sleep on the streets. Oh, I'm really cold. Okay, what do? I steal a a blanket from a shops. Oh, looks like I'm in jail now. Again, giving you very extreme examples here, but the things that people do for their passion, probably not stealing the blankets and probably not out on the street. But point being is that if you are to solely act within your passion, you will not get where you want. Okay, now I did say this before, there are people who make their passion work, but quite often it's something in the future, right? It's delayed gratification. You make a successful life in today's world, in today's, economic state where you have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars of income a year to even survive. They make that work in the future. And the people who only make it work in the future probably earn millions of dollars each year. And I can tell you why. From my perspective, I think that the people who are chasing their passion aren't people who will be successful in today's world. Because what that means is that they have to, the passionate person who is chasing everything probably isn't the same person. And again, it's, overgeneralization, but that person probably isn't someone who has too much say over their actions, because they are so singular with their focus that they think that everything that they are doing is right, and will typically fall to someone's perception of what that is as well. So that is very, very convenient and fitting for someone to be an employee. And we all know that most employees won't be financially free. Okay, they may be comfortable, they may be surviving, but it's not a place of financial freedom typically. So when someone chases a passion and they are trying to constantly keep it up throughout their life, that same person probably isn't the type of person to earn millions of dollars a year. Now, again, there will be people who are frugal enough to do so, but they also probably find out that, guess what? I don't care about my passion too much anymore because I'm making millions and I can do whatever I want. The passion that I had for, looking at ceiling fans all the time, because I just found so much fulfillment in it, and I just loved looking at ceiling fans. If they spent their whole life doing that, they'll be in such a negative place, because that's just the world that we live in, okay? Like, you can't spend all your day watching ceiling fans, and if you were to do it on your weekends, because that's all the time you've got, then I'm sorry, you're probably not the same person who's going to earn millions of dollars and get themselves financially free. And I also don't count success as being financially free. I think that I see that as a way to live a successful life. It will help you be more successful just because that's the world that we live in. It will be rewarded. That's not necessarily an inherent reward, although it definitely will help you get closer to where most people want to be through financial freedom. And that doesn't often look like chasing your passion. Often, as I said before, it's doing the hard things that you don't want to do where there is most reward. Once you get through that, let's say you've got like a level. Down here is the people who are just chasing their passion all the time. Here, you've got the people who are doing it on the weekends. And here, you've got the people who aren't doing it all. But guess who, in the end, will be able to do whatever they want and chase their passions unconditionally almost because they're buying their time back. Well, it's not this person because they're fighting for survival. This person, they're probably, comfortable, maybe fighting for survival here, but they're getting 2-3 days a week where they can do that. This person up here, they struggled for about 20 years, but guess what? For the rest of their existence, they can spend the rest of their life doing whatever they want because they've got the financial freedom to do so. Now, the system is made in that way so that it happens, right? Because if everyone was up here, then we'd have no one up here. And what's up here would be not valued anymore. So there is a reason for this system. And again, I'm not necessarily demonizing the system. All I'm saying is that this level of awareness will help you get higher, okay? Because if you're stuck in this mind frame, this mindset of being in this and constantly being constructed to your singular passion, you're limiting yourself so much that you can never get to this point. And again, for there to be winners, there has to be losers. So I'm not even angry that there's people down here. Not even angry. I want more people to be down there for selfish reasons, so that I can get to the top even easier than most people. Right? Like, me putting this out helps me get further and further away from being there because this might help more people get there. Okay? That's also probably a fallacy in my own right. I'm probably wrong with saying that. But again, I'm only saying what I know. Confirmation bias, all these different things. I'm aware. I only know what I know, but I also know that I don't know things, and I will tell you that I don't know things. And there's so many things that I've probably already said in this argument that are completely wrong. But all I can do is tell you what I think I know and say that maybe it's right. I'd like to think it's right because it's what I believe. I've done as much research as I can. A lot of the stats suck, as I've already said, but let's not take the stats for stats, but let's take the stats for a compelling argument and saying that the inaccuracy of these stats prove that this is a construct that is not necessarily an algorithm even. There's no real way to point out what that is. Now, going into the activities being a vessel for core motivations. I'm going to give an example. So, if someone believes their life's purpose is coding, like computer coding and whatnot, it may not be the act of coding that provides ultimate satisfaction, but the problem solving, creativity, and sense of accomplishment that comes with it. These core motivations can be fulfilled through various other activities such as teaching, developing software, or engaging in other problem-solving tasks. It's basically a vessel for the things that they like doing, for the thing that they find most fulfilling. Okay? It's pretty fair to say, from my perspective, that that person who finds fulfillment through coding, I spoke to my auntie about this, who used to be a software developer, or still is a software developer. I was saying, why do you find fulfillment out of it? Like, why is this your passion? And she was telling me how she's always liked to do difficult things and finding a solution for that. I think that's her ego. She likes to do it. And if I was to say that she didn't, she would tell you how she does. So her ego is stemmed in her ability to do hard things, as much as mine is. My ego lies in my ability to do hard things. Okay, so it can be wrapped into many things. Now, maybe the best way to complement her ego, her reward, her ideology, all of those types of things are through coding, quite potentially. But it also could be done better through another thing. Now, again, coding wasn't around in the 1700s. There was another thing that they probably did, and that may have been writing, that may have been something else. But through problem solving and doing those same attributes that you do through coding, maybe that same sense of fulfillment and that level of fulfillment could have been achieved because it's all they knew. Maybe there is a more fulfilling act out there for my auntie that she doesn't know about yet because it's not existed. But guess what? Maybe that would be her true calling if she was in 500 years' time back on Earth, right? So how do we truly know? Okay. Talking about the dangers of a singular focus. Now again, I'm giving a lot of like very hypothetical situations, very unrealistic and blanket statements that have little validity because I'm only working on the polar ends. But the point being is anything on the negative side is still negative, right? So I am giving you the polar extreme. Aware. I've done that on purpose. It's all I know. But there is still a high majority of people who act in this negative side. Okay, so focusing exclusively on your passions can lead you to financial instability and missed opportunities that could have given you the satisfaction that you have been craving all along. So 60% of small businesses fail within the first 5 years, often due to passion-driven but poorly planned ventures. A survey by Bankrate found that 45% of those who pursued their passions full-time face significant financial difficulties. According to the stat of Bureau of Labor Statistics, only 1 in 5 freelancers sustain long-term careers based on their passions. Now, freelancers is an interesting one because most of the time, freelancers are people who want to do things that they enjoy. Now, I'm not demonizing that. I've done freelancing work, and I haven't done freelancing work because I find it enjoyable necessarily. Sure, video editing is actually quite enjoyable for me, but guess what? I hate cutting clips. I hate doing all that. It's the most dead thing in the world. I'd rather read, and I don't even like reading, right? But it's the fulfillment that I get after watching the video, after doing 10 hours of video editing, like I did for the Patrick Gregson episode. And guess what? I still look at it and think, oh gosh, I could have done so much more, but I ran out of time. So I'm thinking, yeah, okay, I found fulfillment through that. But it's not the reason why I do it. Like, that is the reason why I do the video editing. But in terms of the freelancing stuff, I also can do graphic design. I can do so many different things, and I don't have a passion for them. It's very fulfilling for me to do it because I'm very competent at it now. I find enjoyment through the fulfillment that I get, right? The graphic design and the video editing for me is not externally influenced unless it's validated through mediums such as this, which gives me more reason to do so. If I wasn't validated through mediums like this podcast, through the SCULPTED app, which are things that I'm constantly pursuing, then the enjoyment part would probably be less true to the narrative here, because I wouldn't get as much fulfillment or enjoyment out of it if I'm really competent but not being acknowledged for it, which is my ego, right? I'm being confirmed that the things that I'm doing are good. Okay? So, going into missed opportunities. By focusing solely on one passion, individuals may overlook other fulfilling and lucrative opportunities that could also bring joy and satisfaction. So, imagine I love to film these videos. Imagine this podcast is what I believe my true calling is. And I stick to this for 20 years, and I keep on trying to make this work. Now, arguably, it probably wouldn't work in terms of financials if I wasn't able to get many viewers. But let's say I've made a living out of it, and I'm only just scraping the barrel. I'm only just breathing every single day, waiting for the next check to come in from YouTube ad monetization. Let's imagine that's the case. Probably that wouldn't happen. But point being, if I keep believing that this is my...
Hey guys, don't want to interrupt this episode, but gotta do what I gotta do. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you leave a comment if you enjoyed it. If you want any to give any feedback, even just leave that below. We're open to everything. Join the Patreon, guys. There's going to be a lot more stuff on there. We want to hear from you guys as well. We want to get you involved. If you want to be beta testers to the SCULPTED app, let me know. I can make that happen. Try and get involved at any level. What we're doing at Live Free, guys, make sure you check what we're doing there. Liam's got his own personal YouTube channel. He's always uploading. I've got my own personal YouTube channel that I've started uploading twice a month now. It's going to be cinematic like I am now, right? I've got the light above, got a cool camera. That's what I'm going to be working on, guys. So make sure you follow Live Free Diaries. SCULPTED app. We're doing great stuff over there. Additionally, we want to grow this podcast, guys. And the only way we can do that is through your guys' help. So make sure you subscribe, listen to us on all audio platforms. We're everywhere. So make sure you interact with us. Make sure that you help us grow, because the only way that we can grow this podcast is through you. We'll get better guests. We've always had great guests from the get-go, but we'll get even better guests on. Production value will go up. I've got my studio, but we need to get Liam his studio, and the only way we can do that is through monetizing this platform. So make sure you do that, guys. And I'll go back to the episode. I'll let you go.
True calling, and so many other opportunities come by, but I keep on saying no to it. My level of satisfaction will probably go down because I continue to do something that I think is going to give me that same sense of satisfaction and fulfillment, when I actually don't believe that you can consistently do something for long enough with that same level of enthusiasm if you believe that that thing is your destination that you will stay at forever. Because with that type of mindset, it's not an abundance mindset. An abundance mindset is grass is always greener on the other side. Now, maybe this is wrong, but the person who is doing one thing solely is also the same person to believe in burnout, okay? Because for burnout, for you to believe in burnout, it probably means that you think that you should be doing the fun things, when that's not necessarily the case, okay? So that same person who's doing the same thing for long enough will probably experience burnout because they've got themselves into that trap. And now they start demonizing burnout on that issue. And they're saying, no, I was just doing this for so long, I wasn't getting the results that I wanted, and now I'm burnt out. And my life's so bad. I was just doing what I wanted. I was just trying to do X, Y, and Z. Look, the world's against me. And they play this victim mindset. And again, I'm really overgeneralizing. I am massively. But I think it's fair to say that that same person does have that same mentality most of the time. I think it's pretty fair to say that. There will be exceptions. There will 100% be exceptions. Maybe it's 45%, 55%. But I'm still leaning into the fact that most people who have that mentality to say that one thing is their true calling and that's it, they also are the same type of people to believe in burnout and then to get burnt out. I will never get burnt out. You know why? Because I can adapt and evolve quickly. I won't let myself get in a position where I do something for so long that I then have a distaste towards it. If I have a distaste towards something, not necessarily take a break, but I'll move on to the next thing because I realize that that's not the thing that's going to help me get from level 1 to level 2. If I have such distaste towards it and I want to get to level 20, sticking with that one thing may not always be the answer. But maybe also it could be, and I just need to get through it a little bit more. But believing that burnout is a full stop is a massive fallacy. And it's a convenient lie that so many people tell themselves because it's an easy cop-out. Because it's lacking any term of accountability. Blaming it on an exterior factor that you believe you've got no control of is such a high level of lack of accountability, that people will always use it because it's so convenient and it's so easy to blame on something that isn't your fault because it doesn't look like it's your fault. And when people say that they're burnt out, either they're not informed enough on what burnout truly means, or they're looking for a lack of accountability so that people can say, at least you went out trying here. You gave it your best, maybe it wasn't the thing for you. And I'm not saying that's necessarily wrong, the wrong kind of anecdote there, or prescription, but never let yourself get in that position. Never let yourself get in that position. If I was to keep doing football, and I was to keep getting mediocre results, then that's my fault. If I keep on getting mediocre results, if I'm only playing in the low leagues of professional football, but I wanted to be playing in the Bundesliga, whose fault is that? That's my fault. I can't blame that on politics. If I was truly about it, if I was truly about playing in the Bundesliga, then I'd make it work. And it's not about politics. I wasn't doing the right things. Now, in hindsight, I can say that. In the moment, I'm thinking I have to do the right things, but maybe also I just chose too many things that didn't allow me to do the right thing. So when people start to blame it on these external factors, it's just such an obvious lack of accountability, and it's too convenient to lean on that it doesn't piss me off, but it's like, come on, you're just lying to yourself so that you can get that external validation from other people to say, yeah, it's okay. You failed, but it's not your fault. When in reality, everything's your fault. Your failure, your success, everything is your fault. And it's just too convenient. And it doesn't work. Now, that's kind of my main arguments there. I think it's pretty, again, I'm confirming my beliefs here, but I think that's pretty fair to stand on. I don't know what you guys think about it. I'm pretty passionate about it. Pretty passionate about my stance, because, I'm just the most passionate guy ever. Okay, now I am mocking it, but I think that was a good piece of dialogue. Again, very open to criticism. Honestly, I would love if someone just comes, sits down with me, and we just chat smack about passion, motivation, discipline, all these things. Oh, that would be my dream. So if you are that person who truly believes that I'm really, really wrong and wants to sit down, I'll send you the studio location. We'll sign a few documents just to make sure that you will not hurt me, because you may. Probably, I don't know. I just said that because it just makes me sound legit. I don't sign documents with guests, relax. But I want to have a chat to people who think I'm wrong, because maybe I am. Maybe I am wrong. And I don't have an issue with being wrong, because guess what? Me being wrong helps me get closer to the truth, because from there, I know what is right or wrong. Because I don't know if this position's right. I'm just saying that through my life experiences, this is what I've come to the conclusion of. I don't know if it's right. To me, it makes the most sense. This is the life that I've lived. But it would be hypocritical for me to say what I'm saying is right when those same people believe what they are saying is right. And all I've done is given counter narratives for that and counter arguments. And they haven't had the chance to give it to me. So I will open that conversation up to anyone who wants to give that counter narrative or that counter argument to me, and we can chat it out for hours upon hours. Let's go. Anyways, guys, I love doing these episodes. Lie. I love the feeling I get after doing these episodes, because I know that I hated every second of doing the preparation for it, because it's just so monotonous. I hate preparing for these podcasts, but guess what? Now that I've done it, it feels great. It feels great. And when I upload it, it feels great. It feels great. And then when people view it, it feels great. When I see that it's the best performing video, it feels great. So make it. Please. Nice. Catch you later.